So, right in the heart of Europe, there's a country facing some really, really deep challenges. Today, we're going to peel back the layers on Bosnia and Herzegovina to figure out why, nearly 3 decades after a peace deal ended a terrible war, it's still finding it so hard to move forward.
And this whole story, it really kicks off with a number that is just staggering: 35%. Let that sink in. That's the unemployment rate for young people, folks between 15 and 24. A third of the entire next generation can't find work. This isn't just some economic stat, it's a full-blown social crisis.
And that crisis, it all boils down to one huge question, which is really going to guide us through this whole explainer. Why are so many young people just packing their bags and leaving? What's behind this massive exodus? To get the real answer, we've got to dig a lot deeper. You know, this brain drain we're talking about, it's more than just a problem. It's like a giant alarm bell ringing for the whole country. It's the most obvious sign that something, somewhere, is fundamentally broken. I mean, when your best and brightest feel like the only way to get ahead is to get out, you know you have some deep systemic issues.
And this is a really important point. People aren't just leaving because there are no jobs. They're leaving because there's no fair shot at the jobs that do exist. They're looking for a level playing field, a place where what you know matters more than who you know. Okay, so let's start peeling back these layers. The first thing you hit, the most immediate reason people leave, is of course the economy. And it's an economy that almost feels like it's designed to put up roadblocks instead of creating opportunities. One of the first huge roadblocks you run into is this massive informal or gray economy. Get this, somewhere between 20 and 30% of the country's entire economic output is off the books. It's totally unregulated and untaxed. That just suffocates legitimate businesses, keeps wages down, and robs the government of the money it desperately needs to provide basic services. But you know, as bad as that gray economy is, it's really just a symptom of something even bigger. An obstacle that casts this long, dark shadow over literally everything: pervasive systemic corruption. And look, this isn't just a gut feeling. The numbers are crystal clear. On the Corruption Perception Index, Bosnia and Herzegovina is way down at rank 111 with a score of just 34. And when you put it next to its neighbors, the problem really stands out. Croatia, Montenegro, Serbia, they have their own issues for sure, but they all score way better. B&H is a real outlier here, even in its own backyard. So what does this corruption actually look like for the average person? Well, the most common form is bribery. It's the illegal grease that makes the wheels turn, or more often than not, it's the toll you have to pay just to get things you should already have it right to. And this is where all those numbers become painfully real. This quote is from an interview with a local lawyer, and it just ties everything together perfectly: the lack of jobs, the unfairness, and the soul-crushing reality of bribery. It's not some abstract concept. It's a locked door standing between people and their futures. Which, of course, brings up a really important question, right? An economy doesn't just wake up one day and decide to be this corrupt. What is it about the actual structure of the country that creates the perfect breeding ground for this stuff to grow and fester? Well, the answer, it's baked right into the system itself. We're talking about a political and administrative machine that is so incredibly complex, so fragmented, that it seems almost perfectly designed for one thing: gridlock. To really get this, we have to rewind the clock to 1995 and the Dayton Peace Agreement. Now, the main goal of that agreement wasn't to create a booming, efficient country. Its number one job was to stop a horrific war. It was designed for peace, not necessarily for prosperity. And the result of that focus on peace? Well, it's this number. Get this, 14. That is the number of separate governments running a country of just over 3.5 million people. 14. Just let that sink in. And look, the source material we're drawing from, it does not pull any punches. It calls this system, and I'm quoting here, the most complex and cumbersome bureaucratic system not only in Europe, but globally. That's just wild, the most complex in the entire world. So just imagine you're a citizen or you're trying to start a business. This is the maze you have to navigate. You've got your local municipalities. Then in one part of the country, you have another layer called cantons. Then you have the two main entities, and on top of all of that, you have the state level. Each one with its own set of rules, its own budget, its own bureaucrats. There's this incredible analogy in our source material. Experts call the whole system a wormhole. It just sucks in money, time, and talent, and almost nothing productive or valuable comes out the other side. It's a system that exists mainly to feed itself. So what's the cost of keeping this machine running? It is absolutely astronomical. A jaw-dropping 60%, 60, of the country's entire gross national product gets eaten up by public spending. And most of that is just to fund this unbelievably complex and bloated government apparatus. Okay, so after all of that, the brain drain, the corruption, this bureaucratic wormhole, you have to ask, is there any way out of this? Is there a path forward through all this paralysis? Well, for a lot of people, both inside and outside the country, the biggest ray of hope is the idea of joining the European Union. See, EU membership isn't just about economics. It's seen as maybe the only force strong enough to make the country go through the deep and probably painful reforms that it so clearly needs. And the EU has been crystal clear about the to-do list here. The path forward requires some massive changes. They have to completely reform that complicated public administration, get serious about fighting corruption, protect fundamental rights, and upgrade the country's infrastructure. These are basically the building blocks of any functional modern country. And that's what it all comes down to, right? This final, huge question. The system in Bosnia and Herzegovina was, in its own way, an incredible achievement because it did what it was designed to do. It stopped a war. But can that exact same system, one built on ethnic divisions and layers of bureaucracy to keep the peace, ever be changed into a system that delivers a prosperous future for everyone? That is the single biggest challenge that will define its future.